Beloved soul, welcome. I am so grateful that in this moment, our paths have crossed. Not by chance, not by coincidence, but by the quiet orchestration of the one who sees the end from the beginning. I want to speak gently to your heart today, because heaven has been speaking your name. And more than that, heaven has whispered theirs. Yes, theirs, the one whose presence feels like a melody you have known forever. The one whose absence left a space in your life that no one else could truly fill. The one you may have thought was lost to you, or perhaps never even realized had been part of God's plan for you all along. There is a mystery in how God writes certain stories. He does not always give us the ending at the beginning. He lets time stretch. He lets roads diverge. And sometimes He allows hearts to walk in different seasons before they can walk side by side. But this is what I am hearing in my spirit for you. Heaven whispered their name, and in ways you cannot yet see. God has been guiding them back to you. This is not by force. This is not born of desperation. It is the gentle drawing of the Spirit, the weaving together of lives that were always meant to meet again. Perhaps you have prayed for understanding. Perhaps you have whispered into the quiet night, asking God, why? Why did things unfold this way? Why the waiting? And maybe you thought the silence meant your prayer was not heard. But dear one, heaven has been speaking in that silence, and God has been moving pieces in the unseen. You see, there are connections that carry eternal weight. Relationships that are not just for comfort or companionship, but for the shaping of destiny. And sometimes, both hearts must be prepared before they can stand side by side without fear, without regret, without holding back. Even now, God is preparing them, teaching them lessons they needed to learn before they could truly see you as He sees you. And He has been preparing you to deepening your roots, strengthening your faith, teaching you to love without condition. This reunion, this return, it is not about fixing the past. It is about stepping into what God always intended. A chapter that could not be written until both of you had walked the path that led back here. My dear friend, I encourage you, let your heart rest in this truth. God does not restore what will destroy you. He does not return what will break you again. When He leads someone back, it is because He has done the work in both hearts to make the union a place of peace, trust, and divine purpose. So today, release your need to figure out how. Release the need to control when. And instead, breathe in the assurance that if heaven has whispered their name, God is already guiding their steps toward you. If these words are stirring something deep inside, I invite you stay close to this space. Subscribe so your heart can keep receiving these gentle reminders of God's faithfulness. Share your prayer requests or reflections in the comments. I read them with care, and I lift them before the Lord. And if this message has blessed your soul, consider supporting this work through a super thanks, so we can keep sending these words of peace to more hearts around the world. Every seed you plant here helps keep this light burning. Now, I want to take you deeper. Imagine them now not as they were, but as they are becoming. See them walking a road that feels long, but every step is leading home. They do not yet know how close they are to the place where their heart will find rest again. But heaven knows. God knows. And the very whisper that carries their name has been moving through the wind of your prayers. Perhaps, right now, they are learning to forgive themselves. Perhaps they are releasing an old fear. Perhaps they are standing on the edge of a decision that will finally break the walls they have carried for years. And on the other side of that decision, you will be there. Not as a stranger, not as a chance encounter, but as the one God had been leading them toward all along. Your story is not random. The distance was not wasted. And every prayer, every tear, every quiet surrender you've offered to God has been part of the bridge that will carry them back. Hold on, dear soul. Not with clenched fists of impatience, but with open hands of trust, because the same God who whispered their name in heaven's courts, is the God who will place them in your path in His perfect time. And when that day comes, you will not need to force anything. You will recognize the peace. You will feel the quiet confirmation that only the Spirit can give. And you will know, this was God's doing. So walk in peace, pray with hope, and believe, because heaven has already spoken. Beloved, let us continue this journey together, because there is so much more your soul needs to hear. When heaven whispers a name, it is not simply a call to remember. It is a call to prepare, to open your heart wider than you thought possible, to shed the old layers of pain and fear that have kept you from embracing what God intends. You have walked through storms. You have faced moments when doubt threatened to quiet your faith. You have wrestled with questions that seemed too heavy to carry, and yet, in the midst of all this, God has been at work, quietly, tenderly, purposefully. He is the divine gardener, pruning away what no longer serves your growth. He is the patient potter, shaping your spirit with hands that never tire. And He is the loving Father who whispers your name in the night, reminding you you are never alone. This person, the one heaven whispered to you about, is also on a path of healing and growth. They have their own battles, their own shadows to face. But here is the sacred truth. When two souls are called back together by God, it is not because they are perfect. It is because they are perfectly willing to surrender their imperfections into God's hands. That it is a union not built on the fragile foundation of human understanding, but on the rock of divine love. A love that is patient, kind, and everlasting. So, dear one, if you have felt the ache of loneliness or the sting of past wounds, let those feelings rise and then release them. For God is ready to heal what was broken, to restore what was lost, and to write a new story that only heaven could have composed. I invite you now, if your heart is open, please subscribe. Let this space be a sanctuary where your spirit can find rest and renewal. Write in the comments what your heart is longing for today, whether it is prayer, hope, or simply a gentle reminder that you are loved. Share this message with someone who needs to hear that God's timing is always perfect. And if this truth has touched your soul, consider offering a super thanks as a humble gift to keep this light shining, reaching more hearts that ache. For peace. Remember, every small act of faith, every quiet prayer whispered in the dark, is a thread woven into the tapestry of God's divine plan. Now, imagine the moment when your paths cross again. Not as strangers, but as two souls transformed by grace. Two hearts ready to embrace what was always meant to be. There will be no rush. No need to fill the silence with words that do not carry the weight of truth. Instead, there will be a sacred stillness. A knowing deep within that God has brought you together again, for a reason greater than either of you can fully understand. In that meeting, you will see the reflection of God's faithfulness in their eyes. You will feel the quiet peace that passes all understanding settle over your spirit. And your hearts will remember what your minds could not yet grasp. This is not the end of your story. It is the beautiful beginning of a new chapter, written by the hand of the divine. So, beloved, rest in this promise. Walk gently through each day with hope alive in your soul, and trust that heaven's whisper is guiding you both home. If you feel the blessing of these words, let them ripple out. Subscribe for continued peace and guidance. Share your reflections or prayer requests below. Send this message to a weary heart who needs to hear it now. And if you are moved, humbly support this work with a super thanks, so that more souls can find their way back to love and light. Together, we are held by a God who never forgets the ones He calls by name. Keep your heart soft, your faith steady, and your spirit open. Because the journey is sacred, and the destination is worth every step. Beloved soul, here we are, at this sacred moment together once more. Thank you for staying close to this truth that is unfolding gently within you. Today, I want to remind God's timing is perfect, even when our hearts grow weary in waiting. He moves in ways that we cannot always see, and in the stillness of that unseen movement, He is leading your loved one back to you. This is a holy reunion, not just of two people, but of two spirits destined to heal and grow together under God's watchful eye. Perhaps you have wondered if the past would shadow your future, or if the broken pieces could ever come together to form a new whole. Let me speak softly to that weary part of your heart now. God is a master of restoration. He takes what is shattered and breathes new life into it. He transforms pain into purpose, and He fills the empty spaces with His own divine love. You do not need to carry the burden of doubt or fear any longer, because the same Spirit that whispered their name in heaven's quiet chambers is at work in both of your lives right now, preparing you both for the sacred moments that lie ahead. Remember, this is not about rushing or forcing what is not yet ready to bloom. It is about trusting the process, surrendering to the divine timing that is woven with care and infinite wisdom. So when that day comes, when your eyes meet and your souls recognize each other once more, you will know without a shadow of doubt, this is the gift God has been preparing for you all along. Dear one, if this message has touched you, I encourage you, subscribe to stay connected with this channel of peace and spiritual guidance. Share your thoughts, your prayers, your hopes in the comments below. Reach out and share this message with someone who needs to hear that God's love never forgets. And if your heart is moved, consider offering a humble super thanks to support this work, so that these sacred words can continue to reach souls like yours, yearning for hope and healing. Take a moment now to breathe deeply. Feel the gentle presence of God surrounding you. Know that you are held, you are cherished, and you are never, ever alone. Let your heart be steady. Let your spirit be open. And walk forward with quiet confidence, because heaven whispered their name, and God has led them back to you. Peace be with you, beloved. Until we meet again in this sacred space, beloved soul, I welcome you again with a heart full of peace and tenderness, knowing that your journey has not been easy, and that your spirit has been quietly carrying burdens too heavy for words. Let us rest here together in the sacred silence, where God's love speaks louder than any fear or doubt. You see, when heaven whispers a name, it is a sacred summons, not just for reunion, but for deep transformation within the very core of your being. It is a call to awaken the highest parts of yourself, the parts that only God can touch, the parts that hold the capacity to love without boundaries, to forgive without hesitation, and to trust beyond what the eyes can see. Perhaps you have wondered why the waiting has felt so long, why the space between your heart and theirs feels stretched like an endless desert, where hope sometimes feels fragile, like a flickering flame in the night. Dear one, know this: every moment of waiting has been a moment of preparation. Every tear that slipped silently from your eyes is watered, the seeds of a love that will blossom in God's perfect time. The waiting is not wasted. It is a sacred pause in the divine symphony of your life, a moment where God's hand is steadying your heart, clearing the debris of past pain, and building a foundation strong enough to hold the blessing that is coming. If you have felt moments of loneliness, when the quiet felt too loud, or when the shadows of doubt whispered lies about your worthiness or your future, I ask you now, bring those feelings before God. Lay them gently at His feet, and allow His infinite grace to wash over every part of your soul, because the one who whispered their name in heaven's courts also whispered your name with the same tender love and unwavering faith. And both of you, though separated by distance or circumstance, have been journeying toward a sacred crossroads. Maybe they are learning lessons they never expected, facing truths that are uncomfortable yet necessary, and shedding old patterns that no longer serve their growth. And maybe you have been doing the same, growing stronger, letting go of what weighs you down, and deepening your relationship with God, who alone can fill the gaps left by human hands. This is the divine dance of reunion, where two souls are not simply brought back together, but brought together healed, whole, and ready to walk forward with God as their guide. Hold tightly to this promise. Dear one, God does not return what will hurt you again. He does not lead you back into brokenness or fear. He is a God of restoration, peace, and hope. So, I invite you now to release any fear that whispers, "What if it doesn't work out?" To breathe deeply and say to your soul, "I trust in God's timing and His perfect plan." If your heart is touched by this message, please subscribe and let this channel be a refuge of peace where your spirit can be nourished. Write your reflections and prayers in the comments below. This is a sacred space where your voice matters and your needs are lifted. In love, share this message with someone whose heart feels weary, so that they too can find hope in God's faithful promises. And if these words have blessed your soul, please consider humbly supporting this ministry with a super thanks, so that more people can hear the gentle whisper of heaven and find their way back to peace. Remember, beloved, the reunion you long for is not a distant dream, but a sacred reality being woven quietly by the hand of God. And when you finally meet again, it will be in the fullness of His peace, in the depth of His love, and in the presence of a divine grace that surpasses all understanding. So walk gently through each day. Let your faith be steady and your heart remain open, for the miracle that God has whispered into being is on its way to you. You are cherished beyond words. You are loved beyond measure. And your story is unfolding perfectly under the watchful eyes of heaven. Beloved soul, I welcome you again into this sacred space where truth meets tenderness, where your weary heart can find rest in the gentle arms of God's eternal love. There's a profound grace in waiting, even when waiting feels like the heaviest burden you have ever carried. Because in the silence and stillness of that waiting, God is quietly moving. He is crafting a divine reunion not just of two people, but of two spirits made whole in His presence. I want to speak directly to the places within you that ache, the places that wonder if this is really possible, the places that fear the pain of disappointment or the weight of another goodbye. Hear this now. God's timing is flawless. His plans are steadfast, and His promises endure beyond the shifting sands of circumstance. When heaven whispered their name, it was not a fleeting thought or a wishful dream. It was a holy call that echoes through eternity. Perhaps they are not yet aware of the path they are walking, or maybe they are hesitating at the threshold of their own transformation, but the Spirit within them moves steadily toward you, and you, beloved, have been preparing too, learning patience, kindness, and unconditional love, allowing your soul to be shaped by faith and trust rather than fear. This sacred preparation is the foundation for the union that God intends to bless. It is a sacred weaving of two stories, two journeys, into one tapestry rich with grace and divine purpose. If you feel the stirrings of hope in your heart right now, I invite you to subscribe and stay close to this community of peace. Let your reflections and prayer requests flow in the comments below. Know that each word is received with reverence and lifted before the throne of grace. Share this message with someone who needs the reassurance that God's love never fails. And if this message has nourished your soul, consider humbly supporting this work with a super thanks, helping this light reach souls longing for hope and healing all around the world. Imagine the moment when the waiting finally gives way to meeting, when eyes lock and hearts recognize what words could never fully express. There will be a stillness, a sacred pause, where the Spirit confirms all that the world may doubt. In that moment, you will understand that every trial, every tear, every moment of silence was part of a divine design, a design crafted by the God who holds your story with infinite love. So continue walking with grace, with hope as your companion and faith as your guide, because heaven whispered their name, and God, in His perfect wisdom and tender mercy, is leading them back to you. Rest in this truth. You are held. You are loved. You are never alone. Beloved soul, here we stand together at the close of this sacred journey, not as strangers, but as companions who have walked through hope and faith, who have held on to the whispers of heaven, even when the night was long and the way uncertain. Know this: God's love has never left you. It has been the steady current beneath every moment of waiting, the quiet flame that never flickered, the sacred voice whispering your name in the stillness. When heaven whispered their name, it was a call that could not be ignored, a call to remember the deep connection that time and distance could not erase. You have been prepared. They have been prepared. And now, the moment draws near when the divine plan unfolds in fullness. In that meeting, there will be no need for rushed words or forced smiles. There will be only peace, the kind of peace that wraps around your spirit and says, "This is what I have been holding for you all along." Trust in this sacred timing. Trust in the one who has never once forgotten your heart. If this message has touched your soul, I invite you to subscribe and continue walking in this circle of peace. Share your prayers, your reflections, your hopes in the comments. Your voice matters deeply here. Send this message to someone who needs the balm of God's love today. And if you feel moved, consider humbly offering a super thanks, so that these peaceful truths may reach more souls longing for hope and healing. Now, take a deep breath. Feel the gentle presence of God surrounding you like a warm embrace. Know that you are loved beyond measure. Know that you are never alone. Walk forward with a heart full of faith, with eyes open to the miracles quietly unfolding around you, and with the sure knowledge that heaven has whispered their name, and God has lovingly led them back to you. Peace be with you. Beloved, always, beloved soul, welcome back to this sacred space of peace and truth, where the whispers of heaven invite you to rest and to trust. There is more unfolding in the quiet places of your heart than you may realize. For when God whispers a name, it is never a fleeting thought. It is a sacred thread that connects you to a divine destiny, a journey of healing, hope, and reunion. Perhaps you feel weary still carrying the weight of unanswered questions, still longing for clarity, for a sign, for reassurance. Know that these feelings are part of the sacred process. They are the echoes of your soul yearning for the fullness of God's promise. And the promise is this: heaven's whisper is a call to trust, not just in the return of a person, but in the unfailing love and perfect timing of God. You are being prepared for something beautiful and holy. Not because you are perfect, but because God's grace is perfecting you. The one whose name was whispered in heaven is being prepared too. Their heart, their spirit, their very being shaped by the gentle hand of God. This is a sacred reunion, one that transcends the limitations of time and circumstance. So, beloved, I invite you once more, subscribe to this channel and let your soul be nourished by words of peace and faith. Share your reflections and prayer requests below. Allow this community to hold you in love and support. Send this message to someone whose heart needs hope today. And if you feel called, humbly support this work with a super thanks, so that more hearts can be reached and uplifted in God's love. Imagine the day when the waiting finally ends. When you meet again, not as two broken pieces, but as two whole souls united by grace and love. In that moment, you will see the hand of God clearly, a hand that never let go, a love that never faltered. Walk in faith, dear one. Keep your heart soft, and trust the divine rhythm that moves all things, because heaven whispered their name, and God, in His boundless love, is leading them back to you. Peace be with you, now and always. Beloved soul, thank you for returning to this sacred space, where your heart can rest and your spirit can breathe deeply in the presence of divine love. There's a quiet power in the whisper of heaven, a power that moves mountains and opens doors that no human hand can unlock. When God whispered their name, it was not just to call them back to you, but to call them back to themselves, to a place of healing, hope, and readiness for the love that awaits. Sometimes the journey back is not a straight path. It winds through valleys of uncertainty, over hills of growth and change, across rivers of forgiveness and grace. But every step they take, even those that feel slow or painful, are guided by a loving hand unseen but never absent. And you, dear one, are part of this sacred dance. Your prayers, your faith, your patience are all weaving a tapestry of divine timing and purpose. If your heart feels the stirring of hope, I invite you now to subscribe and remain in this circle of peace and light. Let your thoughts and prayers flow freely in the comments below. This is a sanctuary where your soul's voice is cherished and heard. Share this message with someone who needs to hear of God's faithfulness today. And if you feel moved, please consider offering a humble, super thanks, so that this message of love and trust can reach more hearts longing for comfort and peace. Imagine the moment when the waiting ends, when your paths cross once more. Not as strangers, but as two souls transformed by God's grace. There will be a sacred stillness, a knowing deep within your spirit that this meeting was written long before time began. Walk in trust, beloved. Keep your heart open, and rest in the assurance that heaven has whispered their name, and God, in His infinite mercy, is leading them lovingly back to you. Peace be with you, now and forever. Beloved soul, welcome back into this sacred space of quiet reflection and divine truth, where your heart is safe, your spirit is known, and your journey is honored. There's a gentle power in the whisper of heaven, a sacred call that resonates across time and space, binding souls in ways the human mind can scarcely understand. When God whispered their name, it was a message woven with love and purpose, a divine thread pulling two hearts toward one another, even when the path seemed distant and the way unclear. Perhaps the waiting has felt endless. Perhaps you have wondered if this moment will ever come. Know this now, dear one. The waiting is part of the sacred preparation. It is in the silence that your faith has deepened. It is in the solitude that your spirit has grown strong. And it is in the unseen that God has been working quietly, mending, shaping, and guiding both you and them toward a holy reunion. You are not alone in your longing. Your prayers have been heard. Your heartache is known, and your hope is held tenderly in God's hands. If this message has touched your soul, I invite you to subscribe and stay close to this channel of peace and spiritual guidance. Share your reflections, your prayers, and your hopes in the comments below, for here, your voice is honored and your spirit is lifted. Send this message to someone whose heart is aching for hope today. And if you feel moved, please consider humbly supporting this work with a super thanks, so that these sacred words may reach more souls longing for healing and love. Imagine the day when the waiting finally gives way to meeting, when your eyes meet and your hearts recognize one another once more. There will be no need for explanations or rushed words, only the quiet peace of God's presence enveloping you both. Walk forward with faith, beloved. Keep your heart open and soft, and trust in the perfect timing of the one who whispered your names in heaven's quiet chambers, because heaven whispered their name, and God, in His infinite love and wisdom, is leading them gently, lovingly, and surely back to you. Peace be with you, now and always. Beloved soul, welcome once again into this sacred space, a place where your heart is invited to rest, where your spirit is known deeply, tenderly held, and where the gentle presence of God's unwavering love surrounds you like a warm embrace. There's a quiet power in the whisper of heaven, a sacred, soft voice that travels across the expanse of time and space, connecting two souls with threads woven from grace, destiny, and divine purpose. When God whispered their name, it was more than just a sound carried by the wind. It was a divine promise, a heavenly declaration, a sacred message etched into the fabric of eternity, announcing that your journey and theirs are beautifully intertwined, even when the path feels uncertain. Even when the way seems long and the waiting endless, you may have walked through seasons of longing, seasons where hope felt like a distant star, where the silence around you was deafening, where the ache in your heart seemed impossible to soothe. Dear one, know this with every fiber of your being, every tear you have shed, every prayer whispered quietly in the depths of your soul, every moment you surrendered your pain and your dreams into God's hands, has been seen, has been held, and has been treasured by the one who knows your heart better than you know yourself. The waiting you have endured is not without purpose. It is a sacred space, a holy pause, where your faith has been taking root and growing deep into the rich soil of God's love, where trust has blossomed in the quiet darkness, preparing you to receive the beautiful gift of reunion when the time is perfectly right. They too, the one whose name heaven whispered, have been walking their own path of healing and growth, learning lessons that only time and grace can teach, growing stronger in ways you may not yet see, moving steadily toward the divine appointment God has set apart for both of you. This union that awaits you is not about perfection. It is about grace, about mercy, about two hearts coming together, not in spite of their scars, but because of the strength those scars have given them. It is not about rushing toward a destination, but about resting deeply in God's timing, trusting the rhythm of His perfect plan. Not about forcing things to happen, but surrendering to the flow of His Spirit, knowing that what is meant to be will come to pass in its own sacred time. If these words have touched your soul, if this message has kindled even the smallest flame of hope within you, I invite you now to subscribe, to stay close to this circle of peace and spiritual guidance. Share your prayers, your reflections, your deepest hopes in the comments below. Know that here, your voice is cherished and your spirit is lifted with love and care. Send this message to someone whose heart aches for reassurance today, so that they too may find comfort in the truth of God's faithfulness. And if you feel moved by these sacred words, please consider humbly supporting this ministry with a super thanks, so that more souls can be reached, comforted, and guided toward the peace that only God can give. Now take a deep, slow breath. With me, feel the loving presence of God surrounding you completely, filling every corner of your being with peace, with hope, with assurance. You are beloved beyond measure, treasured beyond what words can express, and you are never, ever alone. Forward now with a heart full of faith, with eyes open to the countless miracles quietly unfolding all around you, miracles seen and unseen, guided by the hand of the one who holds all things in His perfect care. Remember always, heaven whispered their name, and God, in His infinite mercy, in His boundless love, is leading them home, gently, surely, lovingly. Back to you. Peace be with you, beloved soul, today, tomorrow, and for all the days to come.